Welcome to Study Loop.
Okay, hello. So the objective here is to express these statements using quantifiers and the following conditions where we have that I of X is we have that X has an internet connection, and then C of XY, where we have that X and Y have chatted over the internet. So for part A here, we replace X with Jerry in there exists X such that not I of X. So therefore the statement in the quantifier notation here is going to be there exists Jerry such that we do the negation here, not of, and then I of Jerry. All right, so there we have part A. Then for part B, we consider the statement Rachel has not chatted over the internet with Chelsea. So therefore, we replace X and Y with Rachel and Chelsea in not C of Rachel and Chelsea. All right, so there we have part B. Then for part C, we rewrite the statement as follows. So we have for a student X, Jan and Sharon have never chatted over the internet. Therefore, our statement here becomes there exists, so backwards E here, there exists X such that the negation here of C of X and Jan, and then so the little upside down V here is our and then the negation of C of X and Sharon. All right, there we have part C. Then for part D, we consider the statement now, no one in the class has chatted with Bob. So here we replace Y with Bob in, we do for all X. So the upside down A here means for all X. And then such that the negation of C of XY, and then we replace Y with Bob. So C of X and Bob. All right, there is part D. Going on now to part E. So here we have the statement Sanjay has chatted with everyone except Joseph. So Sanjay has not chatted with Joseph. So therefore we have the negation here of C and Sanjay and Joseph. And the statement that Sanjay has chatted with everyone. Combining those two statements, we have, actually erase this, we have for all X such that C of X and Sanjay, and then we do the and, upside down V there, then the negation of C and Joseph and Sanjay. All right, here's part E. Going on to part F. Now we have the statement here that someone in your class does not have an internet connection. So here we just use the exists here. So there exists, so the backwards E, there exists an X and then we use the negation here of the I of x. Right? So someone in your class does not have an internet connection, therefore there exists an x, right? Someone doesn't, so there exists some x such that the negation of the I of x. So there we have it. There is part F. And then we go on to part G. So here we have the statement that not everyone in your class has an internet connection. So therefore, that would be the negation, right? The negation of for all x such that, right, such that I have x. So therefore, the negation of that is going to be there exists an x. So backwards E here, there exists an x such that the negation of I of x. All right, so this is the logical consequence of the negation of for all x means there exists an x such that the negation of I of x. So there is part G. And then we go on to part H. So part H here is the statement exactly one student in your class has an internet connection. So the logical equivalence of that would be there exists a unique, so the exclamation point here, x phi of x. All right, that's part H. Part I, we have the statement, everyone except one student in your class has an internet connection. So the logical equivalence of that would be there exists an x such that, now there's a long bit here, we have the negation of I of x, and for all y, there exists, or for all y, such that y does not equal x, would then imply I of x. And then we enclose that, and we enclose all of that. All right, so there is all of part I. And then we have part J here, where we have the statement that everyone in your class with an internet connection has chatted over the internet with at least one other student in your class. So therefore, we have here for all x in I of x implies that there exists a y in C of x, or C of xy. All right, there's part J. All right, a couple more here. We have part K. The statement now is someone in your class has an internet connection but has not chatted with anyone else in your class. So we got there exists an x of I of x would then imply that for all y, and then we have the negation of C of x, y. All right, and then going on to part L, the statement here is that there are two students in your class who have not chatted with each other over the internet. So we've got there exists an x such that there exists a y such that x does not equal y, would then imply the negation of C of x, y. All right, there is part L. Part M, we had the statement that there is a student in your class who has chatted with everyone in your class over the internet. So here we have that there exists an x such that for all y, we have c of xy. All right, I think there's two more. So we have part N, that there are at least 2 students in your class who have not chatted with the same person in your class. So we have that there exists x such that there exists a y such that x does not equal y. And so upside down v there, and there exists a z such that the negation of c of x z, and put it down here, and the negation of c of y z. All right, there is all of part N. And then lastly, we have part O here. And all that statement is that there are 2 students in the class who, between them, have chatted with everyone in the class. So we've got here that there exists an x such that there exists a y such that x does not equal y, would imply that, put on here, so it implies, just keeps going here, it implies that for all z such that c of x z and c of y z. And then we enclose all that, and there we have it. All right, take care.